So today I am taking the example 2 that we have discussed in earlier class, and we are going to describe it in Verilog HDL. This is the data path of the adder cum multiplier block that we have talked about. So there is a mode signal depending upon which the input A and B that comes, we will be doing either addition or multiplication of the 4-bit numbers, and the result is taken output as y. Okay, so there is an additional block that here I have added, which I will come into a little later. But what we have seen earlier was that the FSM is a two-state machine, S0 and S1 we can call it, and it will generate load signal, control signals like load, LD, LD3, BC, etc. And we can see what happens if we generate these control signals. So the FSM design is same like in the case of sequence detector case that we have written the code, but here it is going to be Mealy machine, and therefore the generation of the next state is going to depend upon not only on the previous state, but also it is going to depend upon the inputs. Okay, inputs and the previous state will decide the next state. So that is the only difference. Otherwise it is much like the earlier design. So and the data path architecture, we need to specify what are the components here: registers, adder, multiplier, multiplexer, all of this. So this will come in the data path. So in the hardware description we will have two parts to it. When you design the entire module, it will have two parts. One is the data path and the other is the FSM part. So I will take the program. So this is the program that I have written. So we have defined a module with A, B and mode selection input, start signal input, clock input, Y is a 8-bit output, and done is a single bit output. Okay, so A and B both are 4 bits. So I have defined the mask vectors here. And then coming into the data path will contain basically registers. So R1, R2, F is a single bit register, R1, R2 are 4-bit registers, R3 is a 8-bit register where we will store our output. Okay, other than that I need multiplier and adder, but I am using procedural programming, so therefore I will just incorporate the multiplexer and the multiplier and adder all in just one line here. So line 24 and 25, if you look at, it says if LD3 in control signal is high, then you load into R3. If selection input is 1, load the product of R1 and R2 content. If select input is 0, then load R1 plus R2 into R3. So R3 is the output register into which one of this will be loaded, that is either the product or the sum. So which one should be loaded is determined by a select control signal. So I require the control signal in the data path. The control signals are LD, LD3 and select input. Okay, so these are the control signal, and there is one more, BC, and BC control signal is for the tri-state buffer. If the content in Y has to be displayed at the output, then I need to have BC should be high. Okay, so this is these are the control signals which are available, and based on the control signals in the data path I will have these register transfer and the enabling of the tri-state buffer. Okay, so I will give this program to you. You can have close look at it by yourself. Okay, so then the other part is basically the FSM design. So FSM design, as you already know, or you are familiar with it right now. So we defined the what are the states. So in this particular case there are only 2 states. and we have three parts to it. One part is the change of state of the state machine. So Q will become Q next in the positive edge of the clock. So that is this part. And then other than that, we have here this part basically generate the input to the flip-flops. Okay, so the input will depend upon the previous state as well as the external input. In this case, the external input is start input. So start input and the current state will decide your next state. So we have a combinational circuit which will generate the next state depending upon the external input and the current state. So that is what is specified here. If we are in S0 state, then depending upon the start signal, we will decide whether we will go to S1 or we will remain at S0. Okay, if start signal is 0, we will remain at S0. The same information that is there in the state table. Okay, so how the state transition happens depending upon the input and the previous state, how does it happen to the next state, so that we have to put in. So same information that is in the state diagram or in the state transition table, so that we will give in this way using a case statement. And the other thing is like, so the next state is generated and then that is assigned in the assigned to the the flip-flop during the positive edge of the clock. Okay, and then depending upon the state of the flip-flop and the state of the input, we need to generate the control signal. So that is the third part in the FSM design. Okay, so we have the excitation table. In the excitation table we specify we have the truth table for the outputs. Okay, so that is going to depend upon the current state and the state of the for Mealy machine, it will depend upon the present state and the input that will decide the output states. Okay, so if you go back to our truth table for output, so truth table means it's the generation of the control signal. So there are various control signals, LD, select, LD3 and BC, etc. So I have denoted here. So if we find the for example LD is the start into Q bar. Okay, so we can just write in the same manner in the start into Q bar. Okay, so here that is the control signal. So here basically we are implementing the combinational circuit which will generate the control signal from the current state as well as the input signals. Okay, so this is the third part. So FSM design you have already seen earlier. So so only thing is that this is a Mealy machine and therefore it not only depend upon the current state but also depends upon the external inputs. Okay, so and so the other part we have the data path where the register transfer operation depending upon the control signal how you want the register transfer to happen. Okay, so now BC like if I say that BC, earlier I mentioned that in the previous class I mentioned that BC, that means our tri-state buffer should be enabled when the LD3 becomes, that means when we load the signal into the R3 register, at that time we need to enable the register. Okay, so that's what we are doing. So once it is loaded, we will enable the tri-state buffer, and whatever is the content in the register will be that will be displayed at the output. Okay, why is the output? Whenever the tri-state, so let me show the diagram here. So this is the tri-state buffer. There is an 8-bit input to the tri-state buffer that is from the register R3. So if the output is available in register R3, we just enable that tri-state buffer and take the output so whenever we are enabling, so that is our done output also. so that will also be displayed. So one thing I want to mention with respect to the programming, that I can use two different kinds of symbols here. So when LD3 is high, if I am immediately assigning the value to the register, the output BC control signal, if I am immediately assigning it, then if I want immediate assignment, I use this symbol, that is just an equal to symbol. But so BC is a register, and that register will be loaded the moment LD3 becomes high. Okay, that's what it means. So if I do like that, and then depending upon BC, I will enable my tri-state buffer. So let me save this, and then let me compile it. So I go to here, and then for compiling I say, so this is my file name asm1.v, and I am going to compile it into asm_o. So I run this, and then I do this command to show the output. Okay, so output has come, and then let me just go directly to the waveforms. So here is my test bench signals. A is my input, I want to display that, and then my start input, then my clock input, and then my output, and then my done output. Okay, so these are my output. So here I am displaying it. Okay, so if you look at here, we can display this output, say I can select this, select A, B, and all the multiple bit output. Suppose I want it to be displayed in a decimal format, I choose that by right clicking it. Okay, so if you look at here, I have given 9 2 as the A input and B input. Okay, so you can see the content I want to use. So 9 2 are the input, and then the clock signals is coming. Start signal is enabled here, so it has gone in. So after 2 cycles I am getting my output. So okay, and what is my mode input? I have not specified that. So mode input is basically 0. Okay, so this is the mode input. So mode is also an input. Okay, so when mode is 0, I should add them, and the result I am getting at here. And then here you can see that at 50 nanosecond I am making my mode input to 1. Okay, mode input becomes 1. At that time, whatever is the content, I should multiply it. Okay, so the multiplication is happening. Okay, and the output is going to be displayed here. So 10 into 11, that is 110. Okay, so here earlier mode input was low, at that time input was 9 and 2, so 9 plus 2 11 I got here. Okay, so the output is shown only for one cycle, and then the done will be high whenever the output is shown, and then I go to high impedance state, so that is shown with the orange color. So no output is available there, and to show that there is no output available, you keep the done at low state. Okay, so that is okay. So when you change the input and make say mode input low, so then we are adding 10 plus 11, that is 21. Okay, and if the start input is high, then it will just repeat the calculation, and again it will show. If the start input is low, then it will not repeat the calculation. So I made here 15 15 as the A and B, and then my mode selection is 0 here, so I will just add 15 plus 15, and that is 30, that is coming here. Okay, so So this is basically the waveform. So this is what I wanted. My specification of the block was something like this. So if I give 9 2 and give the mode input 0, then after some time my output is generated, and for one clock cycle the output will be displayed, and at that time whenever the output is displayed I will show my done high, and then again I change the output. Depending upon the m is 1 means I have multiplication output, m is 0 means I have the addition output, and that will be repeated if my start is high. Okay, so start is here, so start is high, that is why it is from here to here it is high, that's why it is repeatedly calculating. But if the start is low, my new calculation will not be done, and no more output will be displayed. Okay, but if you want again the output to be displayed, you keep the start input for longer duration, and if you want to change to product, then you make m to be high. Okay, so this is one thing. And then so if you go back to the program, so there is some assignment operations here. Okay, so this is like now another thing is that so if I am so here all the register transfer operations are done here. BC is also a register which is getting loaded with LD3. Okay, so if LD3 and BC are like same, we may say that why not use LD3 here. So if I use LD3 for assigning the output and also my done output as LD3, okay, like this. So if I run this, will I get the output? So let's check that. Okay, I'm just repeating the running. Then okay. Okay, so my done also I will display. Okay, so what you can see is that I'm going to format it in decimal. Right click and data format, I choose decimal. Okay, so I gave 9 2, my output came, but my output is XXXX, you see that. And then the next time when it run, I gave 10 and 11, I am getting my output as 11. Okay, so which is basically sum of, okay, I should also display m. Okay, so okay, so I gave 9 and 2 and I kept my m as low, so that means I should add and I should get 9 plus 2, which is 11, is supposed to come here, but I'm getting XXX, which means some previous stored value in R3 is what is getting out at the output. But then next time when I displayed, I'm displaying the sum of 9 plus 2 11 here, but at that time my input was 10 plus 11, but my m is now high, so I should get 110. So that 110 is coming later, so that means there is a delay here. Okay, so if I give a LD3 directly to choose if I give LD3 directly to choose the or to the tri-state buffer to take the output from R3 and to display it, then I have this problem. Okay, but I can overcome this problem if I give my LD3 instead of LD3, if I give BC. Okay, and my here if I give BC, then that problem is overcome. So how this this is what I first time I showed with BC, but then since LD3 and BC are same, why cannot I give this? So the reason for that is because that's what the register transfer is all about. Okay, so BC is a register which will get loaded in the active edge of the clock. Okay, so if I give LD3 directly here, it is coming here without any delay. But if I load that into BC, so if I go back to the architecture, I have introduced a delay flip-flop here. So here what I am trying to say is that if I make BC as LD3 after one clock cycle using a D flip-flop, then during that time my new result will be loaded into register R3 and that will be displayed correctly with the BC signal. But instead I give LD3 directly here, then whatever was the earlier content will be that will be displayed at the output, because the actual loading of the register R3 happens in the next active edge of the clock. Okay, so that is the thing that is going to happen here. See, when I have assigned the loading operation, okay, LD3 here, okay, to load it with load the register with R3 with the result say product or sum into R3, I will load when LD3 is kept high, but that loading will happen only at the active edge of the clock. Okay, so that will introduce some delay. Okay, so the current state will be the moment LD3 become 1, so that can be seen by going back to the signal LD3. Okay, so if LD3 is high and register R3 also, let us look at. Okay, so this is register R3. Let me display it in decimal. Okay, so you can see here so LD3 is high here, and we are supposed to load the result into R3, but you see the multiplication and the addition is going to take some time to get the new result. So when the new result arrives, it has to be entered into R3, but actually that is happening at when LD3 is high and the clock signal is coming. Okay, let me display the clock also. Okay, so this is the clock. So during the active edge of the clock, the register is going to change, R3 is going to change the result. Okay, so that is happening here. So LD3 is high here. Okay, LD3 is high here, and the active edge of the clock came, and the result is getting loaded into R3. Okay, I repeat, when the clock signal active edge comes, the R3 register will be loaded if LD3 is high. Okay, LD3 is already high, so when the active edge of the clock came, it is getting loaded here. But when LD3 was made high, the result was not available to be loaded. So when the previous active edge of the clock, what is getting loaded is basically the earlier result. Okay, whatever was remaining, that was getting loaded, but the new result takes some time to come. By the time the clock edge is already gone, so you need to wait for the next clock cycle. Okay, so if you want the corrected signal to be displayed, what we need to do is when you latch the output, you should latch the output, or the tri-state buffer should be enabled at this point. Okay, not at this point. So if you enable the tri-state buffer here, the output is going to become XXXX like here. But if I enable it here, I will have the new registered or loaded input into register R3 will be available at the output. So in order to delay the LD3, what we can do is we can introduce a D flip-flop here. So LD3 is given at the input, and then in the next clock edge it will be available at BC, and that is used for. So that is what we mean by this line, okay, line 26. So BC is a register which is getting loaded with the same control signal LD3 but with a delay, okay. So that delay will be ensured if you do a command. If instead of giving LD3 here, if you give BC, so that delay will be ensured, and therefore so we can close it and rerun it. Now you will see that the corrected we will see that the correct result will come. Okay, so if I go back here, so first let me show the input, output, start, then mode selection, output, and done. Okay, so then I will also take register R3 especially. Okay, so now you see that the new content is getting displayed in R3, which is sum of 9 plus 2 in hexadecimal. You can write it as B. Okay, so after the register is loaded, then only you are activating the buffer. Okay, so that will come at the output, but earlier it was getting see, if you see the clock also, then you can see it clearly. Okay, so earlier we were activating the buffer here. By that time it was not yet loaded, so we were getting XXX, but now you see we are activating the buffer after a delay, okay, in the next clock edge because of the delay flip-flop, and then we are getting. So if you want the current out the data corresponding to the current input to be displayed correctly, then we need to activate the buffer with the help of a delay flip-flop. Okay, so that was your order cum multiplier. Okay, and you can avoid this delay flip-flop in the data path by changing the entire FSM machine or controller design differently. So earlier the ASM chart I have shown like this. So ideal state, when the start signal become high, you go load the register and go to S1, and then depending upon addition or multiplication, you perform it and you load it into R3 in the next state and go back to ideal state. So there were only two states. So that's what we have seen. But in that case we need to take care of the enabling of latch appropriately, as I have told you. That means only after ensuring that it is already the new result is loaded into R3, then only you should enable the buffer, okay, so that that current result will be displayed at the output. Otherwise what is going to happen is the earlier result will be displayed if it is not yet loaded loaded at that time. Okay, another way we can work around it is like we redesign the ASM chart, we introduce one more state. So anyway we are using one D flip-flop, means one more memory is introduced. So why not introduce that memory into the controller itself? So for that what we can do is again we look at the state machine, but here S0, S1 and S3, three states I have done. Okay, it is almost the same. If start becomes 1, I am loading the register, my output is done is 0 and Y is at high impedance state. But then what else I am doing in S1, I do perform multiplication and addition. I choose whichever I want by using the F state of the F, which is the mode selection input, and that is getting loaded. Okay, so where is it getting loaded? It is we generate the control signal and we can ensure that it is already loaded when we reach S3. So since at S3 it is already getting loaded, I can now issue the signal for enabling the buffer. So I enable the buffer to show the content of R3 at S3. So I am introducing one more state so that I ensure the loading of register R3 with the required output. After so the loading is done in S2, but actually it is taking place at the next active edge. So by that time I will enter into R3. Okay, earlier I was going into S1, but now I introduce a state where I have loaded my result, and then only I am issuing the control signal for, or BC, which is the control signal for enabling the tri-state buffer. So by using two flip-flops, now there are 3 states, I need 2 flip-flops. So but I don't require the D flip-flop in the advantage is I don't require the D flip-flop in the data path, but I am changing the finite state machine with the 3 states. So if I have 3 states, then I will have more combinations with the start input. There are 8 combinations. QA QB can be in 4 different states, and depending upon start I will have one more. So then I redesign my all control signals with these 3 states, and the last state 1 is not to be used, so I put don't cache there, and then same procedure I do for designing the control signals. The outputs of the finite state machine is my control signal. So then the next state also I need to design, so I get all the thing. Okay, so I have designed this is an alternate way without introducing a D flip-flop in the data path. So I am absorbing that extra requirement in the finite state machine. So this is an alternate way. So I have the program for that. So that is ASM2. Okay, so let me run this. Okay, so first let me close this. Okay, so now I need to change this A to ASM2. Okay, and then the output file I have kept still the same, and then this one also I kept the same. Okay, so let me take the 2 inputs, clock, then mod input, then output, and done. Okay, there is start input also. So start, I will, since it is an input, I will put it up. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I can give these to be displayed in decimal for your convenience. Okay, so it may be okay, so first let us see what happens here. So you see that my start is going high here. Okay, my start is going high here, and then earlier with the 2 clock cycle I used to get the output, but now if you with one, after 1 clock cycle I used to get the output, but now you see that I get the output after on the 3rd clock cycle. Okay, so this may be seen because my state is now 2-bit. I go from S0 to S1 and then to S2. So when I reach S2 only I am going to get my output. So if I take the Q output, so that could be seen correctly. Where is my Q? Okay, so you can see that. So starting from 0 0 I go to 0 1. So 0 0 I am loading my registers, 0 1 I am performing my multiplication and addition, etc., and then it is finally getting loaded. I ensure the loading of the result in Q2 only. So that is when I am displaying it. Okay, so then 10 into 11, 110. Then here it is 15 15, or 10 plus 1 is here, 11 is 21, so it is here. Then 15 plus 15 is 30. So only disadvantage here is that I require one extra clock cycle to get the output. So but it is correctly coming, the output is getting latched correctly. Okay, so this is basically the example 2 that we have taken. Now for your next lab, what I want you to do is to design a order or odd shift multiplier. So I have drawn the architecture and the ASM chart for odd shift multiplier. Okay, so I'll explain this part, but I will not give you the programming, how to program it, but that is your next experiment. So I am giving you this as your experiment number 4. So this is your EXPT 4. Okay, so experiment number 4 is to design a RTL design of odd shift multiplier. So what is odd shift multiplier? So I will explain it. So that is the way in which we generally perform the multiplication operation, but I will just explain it once more. Suppose we have, say, A1, or let us take an example. Okay, so the example, maybe I can take 1011 into, say, 1101. Okay, so 1011 is what? 1011 is basically 11 in decimal. Okay, and 1101 is 110 is 12, so 1101 is 30. So if you do the simple multiplication, how we do? We first multiply 3 into 1, so that is 3, and then so this is 33, and then 111 is 11. So this is our decimal multiplication. So 3 plus 1, that is 4, and this is 143. So now if I do the same procedure in decimal, how do we do? We take 1. If it is 1, what we do? We have to write 1 1. Okay, so if it is 1, we just take so this is called the multiplicand, and this is called the multiplier. So multiplicand, multiplier. Okay, so if the LSB of the multiplier is 1, we just take it down. Okay, and then if how do we do next? If the next LSB we look at, that is 0. So if it is 0, we just multiply everything, multiplicand with 0, so that is 0 0 0, and then we need to shift and add. So what we do is that we can shift this by one position, and then we write the multiplicand. Okay, so now right now it is 0, so we write 0. So you can consider that we have shifted the earlier result by 1 bit. The other way we can think is we are shifting the newly writing thing to the left and right. So alternatively, the way I want you to think is basically the earlier result, I am shifting it to the right by 1 bit, and then I am writing the zeros in that place. So then we add these two. So we can think about adding these two. So we get this. Okay, so again this result we will shift by 1 to the right, and then we multiply again. So if it is 1, we write down 1 1 0 1. So that will be 1 1 1 1 plus 1 0, then 1 1. again it is 1. So so here I have shifted 1 position, here I have shifted 2 position, now I will shift 3 positions. So again I will write 1 1 0 1. Okay, so that will give you 1 1 1, then 0 plus 1 is 1, 1 plus 1 0, then 1 plus 1 0, 1 plus 1 0 and 1. So this is the final result that we will get. Okay, so if you find out what is this result, so we can see whether we will get 143 or not. So this is total 8 bits, so MSB is 1 means it is 127. Then I have basically a 15 here, sorry, this is 128, sorry, so this is 128, 1 followed by this is 128, that is 2 raised to 7, 2 raised to 7. Okay, so 2 raised to the place values are like this, right? 2 raised to 0, 2 raised to 1, like that. When we come to the 8th position, that will be 2 raised to 7. So 2 raised to 7 is basically 128, plus the last 4 ones means 15, so that will be 3, then 4 1. Okay, so it is the same. So this way you can do binary multiplication. And now I want to implement this using a RTL design. Okay, so how can we implement this procedure in RTL design? So what are the things that we require? So we will have 2 inputs, so we will take 4-bit case. In general we can have n bit, but we will implement 4-bit case. So here 2 4-bit numbers are introduced. Okay, and there is a start signal. After introducing the 2 4-bit numbers, I give a start signal, then the computation begin, all the process starts. After some time I should get a product at the output, and whenever it comes I should have a done, just like earlier. Done bit should be a single bit output, which will become 1 when it is the product is displayed there. Okay, so what is my hardware? The hardware is like this. So I have a register R1 to which I will load my 4-bit input, R2 I will load my 4-bit input B, and then I have 2 other registers. One is another 4-bit register which is taking out the order output, and then I have a single bit register which will take my carry output after addition. So what is the thing I need to add? The earlier result should be shifted and then added with the multiplicand if my LSB of the multiplier is 1. So I need to check the LSB. So LSB R2 is the register in which I am putting my multiplier. Okay, so this is my multiplier, and this is my multiplicand. Okay, so multiplicand multiplied by multiplier. So R1 and R2 are 4-bit register where I will load my multiplicand and multiplier, and I check the LSB of my multiplier, that is R2 of 0, and if R2 of 0 is 1, then I need to add the multiplicand. First of all I keep R3 everything 0 initially. So to that I can take as one of the input of the order. Okay, R3 is one of the input of the order plus my R1. So that will give a addition. So that result will come. It may have a carry. So if carry is there, I will put it in R0, which is a 1-bit register. After that, what you need to do? I shift everything by 1 bit to the right. So R0 will come into the MSB of R3, and LSB of R3 will go to R2, and everything in R2 will also be shifted simultaneously. So earlier R2 of 0 will go out, and then the next position will come to the LSB of R2. Okay, the 2 raised to 0 place value is gone out, and 2 raised to 1 place value, whatever was there in B input, that will come to R2 0, and then I will check again R2 0. If it is 0, then I don't need to do addition, I just shift only. Okay, I just shift only, and if it is 1, then again I do addition of R3 with my multiplicand. Okay, so that will I do. Now how many times I have to continue this? As long as all the bits in my multiplier is considered. So if it is a 4-bit multiplier, there are 4 bits to be considered. So first I will consider the LSB, then shift once I will consider next one, shift once I will consider next one, and shift one. So like that 4 times I need to do this operation. I have to check my bit in multiplier, and then I need to decide whether addition should be done or not. If it is to be done, it has to be added and then shifted. If it is not to be done, no addition, just shifting only. And after completing 4 times this, I will have my entire result available in R3 and R2 together. So 4-bit is 8-bit. I take it outside. Okay, and then so this is my architecture. So I have to design now the controller for it. So the ASM chart, if you look at, you can see that state 0 I am loading. So state 0 means it's an idle state. When I am in idle state, my output should be my output means my Y. Okay, so this should be Y. So Y is one of the output. So my Y should be a high impedance, and my done should also be 0. Okay, so that should be when I am in idle state. When the start bit comes, if it is 1, I should load R1 with A input, R2 with B input, R0 with 0, and R3 should be cleared. Why? Because before starting I should have no result in R3. Okay, and so everything I have loaded, and I go to S1 state. So in S1 state also my Y will be in high impedance state, done will be 0, all of that remains. Then what will I do? When I am in S1 state, I will check my LSB R0, R2 of 0, and if it is 1, I will perform my addition. R3, whatever is 0, right now it is 0 because we are starting only, so partial result is not there. So R3 will be added with multiplicand, which is in R1, so that will again come back. So this is this loop. R1 plus current R3 content is added, and the result is taken back again to R3. Okay, so that will be done. The next thing is shifting. Whether my if it is multiplicand bit is 0, then I will not need to perform addition, I just come directly to shifting. Otherwise I perform addition and then come to shift. So shifting is done in S3 state. Okay, S1 state we do conditional adding. If it is 1, we add, otherwise if R20 is 1, we add, otherwise we don't add, we just directly come to state S2. And so in S2 what we do, we basically shift everything to right by 1 bit. Okay, so R3 is shifted, R2 is shifted, and similarly content in R0 will go to, so I can also write R0 also getting shifted. Okay, so the content in R0 go to MSB of R3, and LSB of R3 go to MSB of R2, like that. I have to do a serial shifting. I am just denoting in this way. And another thing I have to do is that after one shifting is done, I have to so there is a counter also in data path, which I did not mention earlier. So that counter is initialized with 3. So after doing the shifting, I reduce the I decrease the count. Okay, so that is also scheduled. Okay, but before the counter is decreased, I am checking out the counter whether it is 0 or not. So right now it is 3, so it is not 0, so no is the answer. So I go back to the S1 state, where I again do conditional adding. Okay, then next state I again shift. So right now because I have scheduled a decrease in counter, the moment I reached S1, at that time the count became 2. So now the count is 2, and then again I schedule for decreasing the count. Again I go to the conditional adding, and now the count is 1, so it is not 0. So one more shifting, one more time I go through it. By that time my counter becomes 0. Okay, so if it is 0, I come out from this through this side. I make my done output to become 1. That means done output become 1 means you can see here done is same as my tri-state buffer output. So that will come from the register R3 R2 combined. Okay, so that the moment I make done to 1 and I go to S0, so that time my output will go to my output will go to high impedance. Output will be whatever is stored in R3 and R2. So these are my this is my ASM chart. And the control signals, what are the control signals I require? I need to load R1 and R2, so for that I use LD1, and then I need to clear R3 and R0, so for that my clear signal, and LD2 is to load the counter with 3, and then LD2 is to load the counter with 3, and then shift right operation. When I do shift right, I need to decrease the counter, so I have to give the shift right is also decrease count. Okay, so I can decrease the count and shift right, that will happen simultaneously, and then BC is basically the time at which I should display the output. Okay, so the output should come by enabling the tri-state buffer when BC becomes 1, but BC I am not directly connecting because as I told you earlier, if I directly give my previous state will be displayed, which I do not want. So what I do is so BC is generated when my Z, that is the counter becomes 0. Z equal to 1 means counter is 0. By decreasing at one point my counter becomes 0. So when it is high and I am remaining at 1-0 state, okay, that is a state corresponding to shifting, so at that time I am going to make BC 1. Okay, but immediately I don't want, because the register is not yet loaded, so I need to wait for one more clock cycle, like I said in the earlier example. So after that I give the BC to, with a delay I give BC to the tri-state buffer, and then I do it. So this program I will not give, but I will show you the result. I will give you this file where I have written all the control signal generation and all. So you need to generate these control signal using an FSM, and then you need to design this data path operation also, the register transfer operation, and then put them together. So what I will do is directly I will run the program. So I have stored the program in ASM3 file. I will just change to ASM3. Okay, so I will put the output in ASM3. Okay, so it is running, and then VVP ASM3, and then so I am storing my result in ASM3_W. Okay, so I will just display the output and show you if it is according to the condition I mentioned. But I will not give you the program for this, but you need to work out the program. Okay, so let me show it in binary format, sorry, decimal format. Okay, so here I am giving two inputs, 15 and 10, and my start become 1 after 1 clock cycle. So my operation begins, add shift algorithm begin from this point. If you count 8 clock cycle, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. After 8 clock cycle, my result is now available. Why 8 clock cycle? You can think like this. The moment start signal comes, we go to S1. S1 and S2 is, S1 is for adding operation, S2 is for shifting operation. So add, shift are the two operations required for each bit in the multiplier, and there are 4 bits, so 4 into 2, 8 cycles are required for 4 additions and 4 shifting operations. So after that is done, our result is available. So 15 into 10 is 150. Another example, 15 into 15, that is 255. Again another, so we need to count from the beginning of the start signal. So when the start signal go from 0 to 1, from there if you count 8 cycle, you will reach the result. Okay, so this is how I want the output to be shown. Okay, you should be able to get the same thing by your programming. So you have to write the program in such a way that you will get this result. There may be various other programs available, but that may not show result in this format, but I want you to do so I will give you the other programs which are okay, this ASM1 and 2, which I discussed in the first part of today's class. So that I will give to you, so you can follow a similar approach. And also I will give you this file which has the architecture and ASM chart and the state table and excitation table, everything is here. So with these you have to implement it. Okay.